Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Danville City Commission for this evening, Monday, June the 13th. The hour is 5:30 and change, and I will call us to order. I will ask that we be led in a moment of prayer by Commissioner Denise Terry. Commissioner.
Good evening. We have lots of good and positive things to get to tonight, but I'd like to take a moment to remember some individuals who have had a heart for serving and have served this community in great ways and for many years. Our K-9 officer, Nikki, that we lost a few weeks ago. Denise Preston Young, her husband is also an employee of the city of Danville. And also Virgie Johnson, who chaired the Board of Adjustments for many years. I know she was on the Board of Adjustments for over 30 years and chaired that for I don't know how many of those. So I would just like to take a moment of silence for these individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have with us tonight Girl Scout Troop 5147, and they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ladies, come show us how it's done. You come right up here if you wish, whatever. It's okay, yeah. Come on, come on. Don't run off, ladies. Don't run off. All right, we're going to start over here. What's your name?
Alia.
And where are you from, Alia? Here in Danville?
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. Come down here. Glad to have you. And your name, young lady?
Mary.
Mary what?
Mary Marzak.
Well, nice to have you. Are you from Danville, too?
Well, I'm from Ashland.
Ashland. Whoa. How about you, young lady?
I'm Natalie.
Yes, you are, Natalie. What's your last name?
Pointer.
Pointer?
Yeah.
I'm sure you're from Danville, aren't you?
I'm from Berea.
I'm 0 for 3.
My name is Abby Alsman.
Abby? Does anybody want to take a guess where Abby's from?
Danville.
And who's your troop leader back there? Say again?
Miss Lamar.
This is your chance to say whatever you want to say about Miss Lamar. Go right ahead. Huh?
Yeah, she's a good troop leader.
There you go. There you go. Ladies, thank you for joining us. Commissioner Atkins has a little something for each of you. Let's give him a round of applause. I assume the agenda meets your approval. We'll move right on into hear the public. This is the public's opportunity to take 3 minutes at the microphone about any subject that is on tonight's agenda. There'll be an opportunity later on to do the same with any topic that is not on tonight's agenda. Yes, ma'am?
I'm Sarah Volkamp, Shadeland Drive, Danville. I'm here representing Smart Growth Boyle, and the first thing I want to do is to say thank you to you commission members and tell you how much Smart Growth appreciates your support in getting our conference on November the 1st at Center College, Planning Our Tomorrow, to get that going, because I don't think it would have happened without your support. And I think we all agree that it was much of a success. We had over 100 participants. We had some excellent speakers who gave us a good variety of topics. And one of those topics that I think we heard quite a bit about was the importance of keeping our downtown viable and to make it a place that people want to come to. That is certainly a principle of smart growth. Smart growth endorses pedestrian walkability, safety, and that is why I'm speaking, because smart growth has certainly taken, we want to work with several groups who are interested in downtown safety. As you know, that has become, I'll call it a crisis. And so we are working together. We are working with you all and with your staff, and we hope, and I think with fiscal court. There are many groups. I think we all have the same purpose in mind. And so thank you for that. And I think we're already seeing some movement and some things that can be done. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Volkamp. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right on into our business. Item 1 is the approval of the minutes from a number of meetings: December 9th, December 13th, December 17th, and December 19th. Chair will accept a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion?
It was a busy December.
It was. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2. This is an Arts Citizen Award presentation by the one and only Mimi Becker.
I want to thank you all so much for this opportunity because, as I said last month, it really shows that you recognize the importance of art in this community and what it means to our individual citizens and those who've developed it and built it and contributed over the years. So on behalf of all the arts community, really, Nikki is here tonight as well. We are very proud and pleased to present our Arts Citizens of the Year Award to Robby Henson and Heather Henson. Robby, Heather. All right,
Thank you.
Wait a second. I have things to do first. You have to. Do not upstage me in my one chance, Robby. I know. So
We'll give you a microphone in just a minute.
there are proclamations that Mayor Perros is going to present as well. But the Arts Commission is presenting you with original pieces by one of our local artists, Ronnie Gilpin, who is a glass artist. So members of our board, some of our board members are here today. Kathy Milby is the treasurer of the board, and she has Robby's piece. And Mary?
This is really lovely.
And Mary, our vice chair, is presenting the award to Heather. So we have with us tonight some of our board members, as well as a good number of the Pioneer Playhouse board and family members in the back of the room. So we're just very proud and pleased that you are have contributed so much over the years. We were afraid, and I'll just tell you this, we're afraid Robby wasn't going to make it because Robby was coming from the prison. So they let him out. So as you will hear and as you know, Robby has developed a program there that has helped so many incarcerated men speak and write their parts in life and then hopefully improve their places in life when they are finished with their time here in our community. So I also want to recognize that Charlotte Henson is here. Charlotte.
Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Hey!
Charlotte was the Art Citizen of the Year in 2006, so it's a bit of a family affair here. So thank you so much, and don't go, Mike, Mayor Perros.
If you'll indulge me a moment, Mrs. Henson, would you come up and join us, please? Because without you, these two wouldn't be here.
That's right.
Want you right in the middle of them. This is a proclamation for the 2019 Art Citizen of the Year, whereas Heather Henson had a successful career in publishing at HarperCollins in New York City, where she was the ghostwriter for many books in the Little House series, adapting over 25 chapter books from the original novels, and whereas, under her own name, Heather Henson has published 9 award-winning picture books and novels for children and young adults, many featuring themes of life in Kentucky. And whereas these books have been released around the world, Heather Henson has been listed on the prestigious Best Of lists, and her work has been included in the Bank Street Books of the Year. And whereas Heather Henson is now the managing director of the Pioneer Playhouse, working to keep the 71-year-old theater a thriving and vibrant part of the Danville, Boyle County community. Now therefore be it resolved, the City of Danville Board of Commissioners recognize the significance of the contribution of arts to the vitality of our community, and would like it to be known that Heather Henson has been selected and recognized as the 2019 Arts Citizen of the Year, as designated by the Arts Commission of Danville and Boyle County. There you are. You're welcome. Thank you. You can slide right over here.
I hope mine is much shorter.
Robby, you're only here because your mother didn't kill you years ago. There you are. Whereas Robby Henson has had a successful and award-winning career as a film writer, producer, and director. His feature films, The Badge and Pharaoh's Army, were award-winning and widely distributed. Spalding Gray, A Life in Progress, was shown on PBS, and Trouble Behind was shown at the Sundance Film Festival. I Come From, telling the stories of men who became involved in playwriting while incarcerated, has toured widely. And whereas Robby Henson has served to mentor and educate young film writers and media producers as a teacher previously at Transylvania University and currently at the University of Kentucky, and whereas Robby Henson has inspired and motivated incarcerated individuals at North Point Training Center to develop their skills as playwrights through the innovative program Voices Inside, which he founded, and through which these individuals have received recognition and awards for their work. And whereas Robby serves as the artistic director of Pioneer Playhouse, where he has written, directed, and collaborated on numerous plays, in particular the Kentucky Voices series, which produces Kentucky stories by local authors. Now therefore be it resolved, the City of Danville Board of Commissioners recognize the significance of the contribution of arts to the vitality of our community, and would like it to be known that Robby Henson has been selected and recognized as the 2019 Arts Citizen of the Year, as designated by the Arts Commission of Danville and Boyle County.
Thank you so much.
I won't kiss you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, I was going to say that one of our curtain speeches, we always say it does take a lot of people. It takes some of our board is here. It takes a community to make a theater thrive and prosper, and so many of you have been part of that. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you so much. Yeah, we couldn't be here without you all supporting what our dad started 71 years ago and what our mother Charlotte has continued. And come out to the Playhouse this summer.
All right.
Keep it going.
Thank you all.
Thank you
And
all.
Arts matter. Arts matter. Thank you.
Love you. Oh, I love my shortbread.
Good job.
I'll move that we accept that proclamation for Heather Henson. We'll do it in order.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Is there another motion?
Move that we accept Robby Henson's recommendation.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 5 is the petition on downtown safety improvements. Mary Robin, there she is.
Good evening. My name is Mary Robin Spoonemore. I'm here to present the petition, which I sent you by email as well. But for your hard copy records, the petition was started 10 days ago. We gathered 624 signatures. We know you're aware of the problem. We just wanted to be very clear that there is quite a few folks that remain concerned about the issue, and as well hoping more changes from the Department of Transportation than was granted to us in November. So that is the gist of the petition. We also remain concerned about the lighting, but I did get in. Thank you, Earl, for working on that as Lori proposed, and I think that's going to come about in 3 or 4 days, whether we have an answer on that. We are heartened and encouraged that you recognize the problem and are working diligently. If there are updates that you know about, we'd like to know about them as well. But I think this is part of the process, and I think the citizens that signed it, I think are all saying that we hope for a safer downtown, particularly 3rd and Main. Let's start there and work our way through. So that's it.
Thank you for your involvement. Thank you for all the trouble that you have gone to collect those signatures. They will be meaningful
Okay.
as we pursue the answer to this long-running problem going forward.
All righty.
Thank you.
And before you leave the microphone, just glancing through the petition, I didn't find my name listed on the petition. I'd like to request that it be be added to the petition.
Oh, certainly. I'll send you the, so it's an online petition, and I'll send you the link. I'm happy to, we're going to leave it open, so we can gather. We're at 624. It'd be great to get to 1,000, but it can continue to grow
Yes.
and be more meaningful, hopefully.
So
So-
you want to tell the audience, in case some of them have not signed, where do you go to sign up?
Sure. If you can go to the Cupid Facebook page. It's Cupid Citizens United for Pedestrian Safety in Downtown Danville. And there'll be a link there to change.org. You could probably also go to change.org and look for 3rd and Main petition, Danville, Kentucky, or just Danville, Kentucky. Interestingly, most petitions I saw on change.org were to the Department of Transportation all over the nation. So, and about intersections. So we're not alone as we confront these issues.
How do you spell Cupid?
CUPIDD.
Okay, 2 Ds, right?
2 Ds. But how else could we get that out there? I could, we just need to post the link, or I'd say go to change.org. Search Danville, Kentucky.
Thank you, Mayor Robin.
Thank you.
Item 6 is the Urban Renewal Board of Appointments that you have. I would like to recommend Jim Lester to be appointed to fulfill the term of Leland Hurley. Do I hear a motion?
I move that we accept the recommendation for Mr. James Lester.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 7 is a CVB Board Appointment, and I have a question before we do that. Is this a joint appointment, or?
Yes, sir.
It is joint. Okay, thank you. I recommend Adam Gray be appointed to the Tourism Commission as the, it says restaurant representative.
No, hotel, motel, Airbnb.
There you go. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept that recommendation.
Thank you,
Second.
sir. Thank you, sirs. Any discussion? Adam, stand up, say hi. There you are.
That's enough of you. Sit back down.
That's enough said. You can go home now. Game time at 8. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 8 is the Codes Enforcement Report. Ms. Lester.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. You have before you the report for the month of December. We had a total inspections of 32 this month, somewhat down due to the holidays and other stuff going on. The work was still there, though. They kept us quite busy. We issued 16 business licenses, and we issued 60 parking citations. Note that we were able to take 628 Cloverdale Drive off the condemnation list. We did add a property due to fire, which was 213 Boffman Avenue. You could see the lien list that's in the packet. So one of the changes that started January 1 was the filing fees for the courthouse. Currently, before January 1, those were $13 to put on and take off. That's gone up to $46 to put on and $46 to take off. So that's going to add another $92 to any liens that we file, as far as that goes. And the State Alcohol and Beverage Control Office has now switched over their applications to online only, so their portal is now open. So they are having some problems with some glitches and things, but we're trying to work with them to get through those. But we haven't had any applications to go through as of yet in Danville, but that will be coming soon. So hopefully they'll get those fixed and we won't have too much trouble getting our applications processed through that. Also, some more good news is Joni House is back with us now as our preservation coordinator. So we are excited to have her back, working for us part-time. And in December and January, it's been a little rough. And we've had a couple fighting the battle of their life. And they have shown us how to do that with faith, hope, and grace. Denise lost her battle, but her visitation will be Wednesday, January 15th from 3 to 8 at the showroom, and the funeral will be Thursday, the 16th at 1 o'clock. So please, everyone, remember Ian and his family as they all go through this.
Amen.
And I'll have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those.
Any questions for Ms. Lester?
I'd like to comment again that good work, and it's always kind of nice to look at your, in this case, top 13 list properties that you're dealing with. And the good news is that have action going on with 8. Is there anything happening with 9 through 13 that you'd like to comment on at all? And for you folks out there, let me say the first 8 stuff that we've recognized, and most everything says in total renovation or complete. And so I think what's positive for this commission and for Bridget and her crew is that we're doing an exercise that's not futile. It's actually getting some things done. So.
Mm-hmm. We work with the city manager to slowly look at those properties and see if there's anything more we can do, or whether it needs to get to the stage of taking that property down, which that's our last resort, but sometimes that's the necessary next step. So we'll be working with the city manager to figure out where we want to go with those properties. But the one that's been there at the bottom, we just added, we'll just have to see where we go from there with that one.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 9 is the Gypsy Run Brewery Certificate of Appropriateness Appeal. I am inclined to spend some more time digging in on this, but that's me. You all may be ready to talk about it. It's up to you all.
Well, I would prefer that you be comfortable with whatever vote we might have, so. Is anything, anybody here from Gypsy Run?
Well, before we do that,
Yeah.
let's discuss the topic and
Right.
decide how we're going to approach the issue before we hear any testimony on the matter. What's before you is an appeal of a certificate of appropriateness that was denied by the Architectural Heritage Board. The property owners have appealed it as a matter of right to you for a fresh review of the matter. It is a de novo proceeding, meaning it is anew to you, and you have several options on the manner in which you can approach it. The first manner is you can accept the record that is before you without any testimony, read it in its entirety, and make your decision based upon the record that was established at the Architectural Heritage Board. Meaning, you can look at their findings, the record that was established, and either come up with your own finding altogether or agree with what the Architectural Heritage Board decided. Another way in which you could proceed is you could have a new hearing on the matter and hear testimony and allow comment and then create your own record to base your decision on. So before we proceed, I think we need to decide how you're going to approach the issue, and then you can decide whether you're going to delay that process or not. So the record before you consists of the letter of appeal that was filed, along with the original certificate of appropriateness that was submitted to the Architectural Heritage Board, the minutes from the meeting, and the applicable design guidelines to murals in downtown Danville, or in the historic district, rather. So all of that record is before you. It's your job to look at it with fresh eyes and decide, essentially, is it appropriate based upon the guidelines that are submitted to you for downtown Danville, or is it not? I'm happy to answer questions about the process, but that's the contextual framework you need to move forward.
So I see this as one of two avenues. The first one you just laid out, and that is we take what's presented in written form and we come to a conclusion. Or I'd like to have representatives of both groups as a second option. Not to redo the whole thing, but just to kind of get some clarity. If there's any questions we would ask, that would be an opportunity. It's up to you all. What do you want to do?
I have some questions and for both sides that I would like some clarity on, and so.
Okay, so you're talking, so,
I think we need to do a whole separate hearing.
okay, so that would be in 2 weeks?
Well,
Or,
you're free to do that. I'll say that will be unique if you do decide to conduct a new hearing. As far as my tenure with the city, I think you've only had you hosted your own hearing on one particular issue, and it was a planning and zoning issue in which the record was devoid of any findings, period. So you can have somewhat of a hybrid. I mean, if you have questions you want to ask, I think you can ask the applicants or the ARB without reestablishing an entire record. If you're holding a new hearing, that means you're scrapping what is before you, and the parties would then be required to present you a whole new documentation along with basically starting the process over. So you would have to have your own certificate of appropriateness filed, and you're going to review it.
I don't think she's
at your
asking.
contact.
No.
So I think we need to clarify exactly. When you said host a hearing, that's a new thing altogether. If you're simply wanting questions asked or answered, I mean, you have parties here tonight who can do that.
Do we have parties from both sides?
Yes.
So we're allowed to do that, and that's what I would like to do. Fellow commissioners would like to hear that. I think that if that meets with council, we should hear from them. I think there was some good dialogue that I read through this weekend. AHRB is trying to do their job legitimately. I think Gypsy Run has a good argument. I think that we want to hear some of that fresh, since none of us showed up at that particular meeting. So if that's allowed and it's acceptable with the mayor and my fellow commissioners, I'd like to hear some of those comments.
Is there someone from AHB here?
You have staff here.
We have
and
staff.
So you would have Ms. Lester that could present the findings to them. You know, I would caution asking individual board members about why they voted for or against something. I don't think that would be appropriate because they speak as a body. So their minutes essentially speak for themselves, and I would caution you from taking testimony from any of the individual members.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask that. So.
I think it needs to be revealed that Commissioner Collins and I did walk the neighborhood today, and that we were able to see the artwork up close and personal. We were also able to see its impact on the surrounding residents.
Well, if you have your questions, if you have questions ready to ask and the parties are present, then I'd encourage you to hear the matter. And if you're not ready to make a decision at the conclusion of it, then you can say so. However, the parties are present, and I think they're prepared to speak probably if asked, or you can decide the record as it's submitted to you.
I guess for those who are present in the audience who are not aware of the situation, it might be important to have staff to review the process and review very briefly the findings for those in attendance.
Well, again, I want to be careful about staff making that preparation because that is considered, the DAH, staff is a staff representative to the DAHB.
Right.
So that is in turn, the record is before us as a body. I mean, I can do that, provide a quick framework for you, but I think we need, as far as preserving the process, I don't think we need to just allow one side to speak or the other. If we're going to open this matter, then open it.
Yeah, I don't have any intention to open it, but if that's what the commission wants to do, fine. I just think that we're discussing an issue and we're sitting here with an audience full of people. And would you do an overview very briefly of what we're discussing?
I'd be happy to. Essentially, the certificate of appropriateness was filed by Gypsy Run Brewery, which is located at 131 North 4th Street, and they have applied to present or prepare a mural on the back of their structure that has, I think based upon their language, an aquatic theme. And they were under the impression that a certificate of appropriateness was not necessary. However, upon communication from staff, once it was discovered that a certificate of appropriateness would be needed, they stopped the process and did file in a certificate of appropriateness, which is in your packet. And it came before the Architectural Heritage Board. Photographs were submitted, both of the structure prior to painting and preparation, and then in its current state and what its final rendition would look like. I would say there was a healthy discussion and debate at the meeting based upon the guidelines and if they were met or not. Those guidelines are in your packet as well. And ultimately, the Architectural Heritage Board decided, based upon the design guidelines, that it was not appropriate and did not meet the cultural integrity of standards of the district. And the property owners thereafter filed an appeal, which is before you. I think that is it in a nutshell, if that provides overview you were requesting.
Yeah, that's great.
And my understanding is you can't see this from 4th Street, correct?
From 4th Street?
It's on the back
Not
side of the
from,
building.
not from Fourth, it's on the
Understand.
back
Yeah.
of
That's
the
right.
building, which faces 4th Street. The
Right.
front of the building faces 4th Street.
I just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
It's also in a fenced area, so I think the Gypsy Run owners in their letter had stated that they didn't think they need a certificate of appropriateness because they felt like it's in the courtyard, which is not exactly in the building, so I think they were a little confused on whether they should go forward or not. Am I stating that correctly?
Yes, but I should say that is water under the bridge, and that is really a fact that is not before you. The important fact is that a certificate of appropriateness was filed. The timing of that was, as you suggested. However, that should not sway your argument or your decision one way or the other. The basic question before you is, does the proposal meet the design guidelines, and is or is not the mural appropriate for the historic overlay district?
I have 2 questions. Is this considered a contributing building? Since I'm guessing it's not really a historic building, but it's in the historic district. Does that make it a contributing building?
I don't think that, we're not talking about Old Center.
Right.
But I don't think that the guidelines differentiate or define what you're describing as a contributing structure. And if I'm wrong, I would think the board would argue that if you are within the historic overlay district, then it contributes to some degree to the historic fabric of the district.
Which leads me to my next question. Is there a definition of, I lost the term, fabric of the district?
No, it would be considered wholly subjective. Now, the principles are meant to be guiding principles. They're defined in the introduction as guiding principles, and they're meant to be inspiring principles and not restrictive principles. So they're not necessarily an easy document to write, but it's what the board has at its disposal. What is important, the document to look at, is section 6.3.3 that talks about public artwork, and the guidelines are listed in there in basically A, B, and C sections. The first section, A, are kind of nuts and bolts. You can check the boxes or not. In section B, that's where your decision, that's where the Heritage Board's decision basically came down to. And those are as follows. Maybe those are important to read for the benefit of those in attendance. They are as follows. Employ design choices that are compatible with the fabric of the district. Design and locate art so it does not impair the ability to interpret the historic character of a building. Locate the art so it does not obscure or damage the building. Utilize high-quality materials that promote the district as a matter of high-quality design. Engage designs that are unique to Danville. Designs that relate to the heritage and character of the community are encouraged. Scale murals that are to the property, appropriately to the property, and luminescent and reflective paints are not appropriate, and maintain public artwork in good condition. So those would be the goals and aspirations of public artwork, including murals in the downtown district. So you can read those, look at the photograph and the design work that was submitted, and make your subjective decision as to whether it does or does not meet the, quote, fabric of the district.
Does the lettering make it a sign?
But they've agreed to take the Gypsy Run out.
Okay. So they're going to remove the lettering.
That's correct. They agreed to do that orally at the Architectural Heritage Board, I believe.
Do we have a new design as to what that might look like?
I think it would be the same design, just without the wording, was their testimony at the hearing.
From the Gypsy Run personnel that's present, is there some significance about this design in particular?
Somebody, yeah.
Yes, sir. Come on, Craig.
And while he's coming up here, if the lettering is removed, is that just going to be solid? Is there going to be another image over top of that, or do we even know that yet?
Hi, Morgan Berg, one of the owners. I would say at this point, we don't have a new design for the potential for the wording to come off. We did say in that meeting, which is in whatever paperwork, that we would remove it. We didn't get to a different discussion of how the name of our shop is Gypsy Run Brewery. So the argument of it being a sign of just the wordage of Gypsy Run, which are just words, in comparison to Gypsy Run Brewery, which is the name of our business, could also be a point taken. But in the sense, no, we have not discussed with our artist what he would be able to change if needed for the words. The theme is designed by a local artist out of Harrodsburg. He grew up in Crab Orchard. We love the ocean, spent a lot of time there. I mean, there's a lot of culture and life and energy that comes from the aquatics and the ocean. Is it a theme that goes throughout our entire building and the energy of our business? No. But our business is Gypsy Run Brewery, which brings in a lot of culture and different perspectives throughout this country, the world, and the way in which the three of us as owners enjoy seeing our life in a perspective to which we then want to share with our community.
So I have a question. So at one point, the motion was removed and seconded. And then the applicants were asked by Dexter whether they were willing to discuss modifications. It was stated that the group had decided to remove the words Gypsy Run, but otherwise would like the AHB to vote on the mural design as originally presented. I guess my question would be, why did you pursue forward with it? Why not give everybody a chance to step back and say, how do we make this a win-win? What was the thinking at the time?
One of it, we attempted to do that, but members of that committee were either unwilling or unable to define what the fabric of the district is or was. And so then we, unless I'm speaking out of turn, thought best to just allow them to make their decision, and then we would essentially, I guess, plead our case to you.
Yeah, at one point in the meeting, the HB started like giving us their suggestions of what they wanted to see from their personal standpoint on our mural. We didn't feel it was their place to determine what our art was going to be. I mean, because I don't see how their ideas were changing the overall character of what we'd already come up with. And that's when we three decided, you know, we'll just take it to a vote, and if they can either approve it or not approve it based on what we, as owners, presented to begin with.
Ms. Lester, do you remember that part of the conversation where the AHB suggested what they would like to see? Do you recall that?
And if I may, on this line of questioning, I think regardless of what the intention was, it should not sway your decision today is defining whether or not the proposed mural is appropriate or not. So I think there are several avenues that we can go down, the intentions of the ARB or even the owners, I think is immaterial to what's before you. Ultimately, I think you need to focus your conversation on what it looks like and the principles and decide if it meets them or not.
Okay. Can you give me an idea of how tall this is? I haven't gotten over there to see it. How far is it?
As tall as the ceiling. Maybe not as wide as the whole width of the building. It's probably 24 by 30, give or take.
And then there's a fence, correct?
There's a fence along
And-
the back side.
And how tall is the
So like
fence?
when you, 6 feet? Yeah, give or take.
I'd
Probably
like-
a little shorter than 6 feet, because I'm not quite 6 feet.
So
and
about
I
6
can
feet. So
About see over it.
someone my height probably isn't going to see a lot of it standing on the ground.
I can
on
see
the
over
other
it just
side
a
of the
tad.
fence.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're on the, I don't know, I guess it would be the Broadway side in either the driveway of the yellow apartment complex or Mr. Updike's backyard are the only way in which most people are gonna be able to see it.
Commissioner Atkins and Commissioner Cottle, I'd like to know what you saw.
This is how it sits now. It's unfinished. And I assume that this is the way it's going to.
This is the finished.
You hope for it to look at the end, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When number one, I did just tell you what I experienced. I had to slow down to a crawl to find it. Then we had to back up, parked, and walked up to it to see what it was. And I think his size is pretty accurate, maybe from the door back and as tall as the ceiling, or maybe a little taller than that.
From where you were, could you see the lettering at all?
You could. I think, again, just me, if I didn't know that it said Gypsy Run, I would have had to study on that for a minute to know that it said Gypsy Run.
Right.
But I personally didn't see it as particularly obtrusive or anything like that. No. I don't know what Mr. Atkins thought. But.
Well, I've tried not to judge the content or the character of these things. I could see it from the first house, from the street, and I walked down the driveway of the second house, and I still could see some parts of it. The first house is two-story, and if I could have gotten to the second story, probably would have seen it all. But like Commissioner Cottle, it's not very visible from the street if one's just driving by or if one's just walking by at the normal speed. We went with the purpose of finding it and actually seeing it. So we slowed down, and we stopped, and we looked for it. So we did see it.
Well, as I understand it, Councilor Dexter, you've kind of boxed us in to either yes or no.
Well, I'm not boxing you in. I'm just guiding your conversation to what the law says you need to make your decision on.
That you boxed
Yeah.
us in.
Well, I'm going to make a motion, and then we can discuss afterwards.
I would
think
just
it
simply
would be
request
only-
that
I'm
I would
sorry.
just request that you root your motion using language in the design guidelines, if you would, please.
And some of
You're
that,
going to have to help me with that there.
Meaning,
Mr. Dexter.
if you think you either vote to approve because it meets certain guidelines and you can name them, or you can have a motion to disprove it based on the certain guidelines.
You just made this a lot more difficult.
I'm sorry.
I would like to say that I appreciate the Gypsy Run folks being here and things look good, but I think in fairness, we ought to let somebody from AHRB have a comment as well, and then I think we ought to move on with the vote personally.
Well,
No?
Go
again,
ahead.
the record speaks for itself. So,
Okay.
I mean, they've spoken in their minutes to you. I don't know what type of testimony you could take from them other than their minutes, which are before you. They thought it was not appropriate, and it did not meet the fabric of the district because it was, the language speaks for itself.
In other words, you vote yes or no.
Let's go.
That's called being boxed in.
Yeah.
That's okay, though.
So let me just find the wording. Is the actual wording of the motion in here? Or does it just say, does not meet section B?
It's 6.3.3, section B is what the
Yeah.
wording specifies.
Denying the approval of the COA. I'd move that we overturn that decision. And
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Can you
gonna
provide the
let-
framework?
Yeah, you can't do that.
The rules require you to determine the basis of your decision. So you have to say something to the effect of either you approve it. I would prefer that you keep your motion in the
Oh.
positive, in the affirmative, to make
I
it.
had it here. Yeah, I had it underlined. Where do you got here? Let me get back to that. Okay.
How tall is that fence back there?
6 feet, he said.
It's around 6 feet.
And what are the guidelines as to the maximum height?
Here. So I'd move that we overturn the COA, or the denial of the COA based on the guidelines for public artwork. A, bullet point 3, locating murals on side or rear elevations. It says murals are not appropriate on the primary facade of a building, which it is not, and is not temporary store. Front murals are permitted on case-by-case basis, but that doesn't apply. I'd also go to B, bullet point 1, design and locate art so that it does not impair the ability to interpret the historic character of a building. And bullet point 2, locate art so that it does not obscure or cause damage to character defining features of a building.
That's sufficient, thank you.
I will second that very sufficient motion.
Motion's made and seconded. We are in discussion.
I don't understand what his motion's about. What does it mean?
Well,
Just kidding.
so here's what I did in doing my homework today.
Well,
I just used this as a checklist. And so, under section A, it's not freestanding art, so that does not apply. So the first 2 bullet points of section A do not apply. Number 3 is locate murals on the side or rear elevations, which is what Commissioner Sears stated. Number 4, murals that have, buildings that have historically been painted. I'm assuming this building was already painted.
Yes.
That's where I got the non-contributing, locating a mural on unpainted, non-contributing building may be acceptable, but that doesn't apply either. Murals on removable materials such as plywood are encouraged, but that doesn't apply either. Consider that murals that face direct sunlight will fade and peel quicker. I'm sure you've considered that. Murals in heavily trafficked areas may be subject to smog, dirt, chemicals, and that does not apply either. Moving on to section B, employee design choices that are compatible with the fabric of the district, which we really don't have that definition. Under section B, design and locate art so that it does not impair the ability to interpret the historic character of a building or the overall area. I'm not even really sure what that means. Locate art so it does not obscure or cause damage to character-defining features of the building, which I would consider this a non-contributing building. High-quality materials that promote the district as an area of high-quality design. For example, murals should only use exterior-grade paints and surfaces, and this is spray paint? Is that correct?
High-quality spray paint.
High-quality spray paint. Engage designs that are unique to Danville. Designs that relate to the heritage and character of the community are encouraged. Does not say they are required. Scale murals to the property in which they are located. I have a check mark by that. Luminescent and reflective paints and finishes are not appropriate. So
They're not
there's none of
reflected.
that. Is the mural itself lit in any way?
No.
Okay. Maintain public artwork in good condition. Before painting, clean surfaces to provide a consistent bond and provide protective anti-graffiti coatings. Is there a plan to do that? Or is that even necessary since?
Once it's finished, if we need to put a finish coat over it, we
And,
would.
and is there a maintenance plan that's usually?
We'll keep it maintained. We assure you.
Okay, well, we need that in
We haven't
writing.
done a plan yet because we weren't sure if it had a future.
So I have 3 check marks under B of the ones that apply, and I had 2 under A that apply.
See?
Is there a C? Where's C? I lost my page.
Yeah.
It's under B, yeah.
Oh, C, yes. Content, particularly for murals, should not depict a commercial product name, service name, business name, symbolic logo, or other information that could perceivably be construed as endorsement of a particular entity, service, or product, which that's where the debate came in with having the words on there. And then incorporate sponsor and artist names as discrete elements of the design. Temporary murals or public works of art or seasonal or related to specific events will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. So that one does not apply either. So that would be, I'm assuming the artist is going to put a discrete signature there somewhere.
It's on the bottom that is not seen unless you are standing at the bottom
Okay.
of our steps in our own courtyard.
So that's 2 that apply under section C.
And we love it. We will maintain it and take care of it as long as we own the business and the building.
So I think the only thing that you actually have not done is the maintenance plan, and is there a form for that? There's a form for that.
I think the other thing that I would want to add to the motion is that if there was discussion about removing the name from the mural, I would still be in favor of doing that just to eliminate the controversy about it being a sign.
I guess we should confirm that that's still the intention of the owners to do so. That was my understanding based upon the underlying record, but that probably should be put and clarified in this record as well. The use of the commercial name would by chance make it subject to the sign ordinance under planning and zoning, and it would violate the percentage requirement of that signs are allowed. So even though it's a partial name, it would qualify as a sign. So that name would need to be removed. And it's my understanding that that is what the owners agreed to do as a part of the application. But again, Commissioner Saris, if that is acceptable in your motion, if you would add it, that would be desirable for the record.
Yeah, Commissioner Atkins is right. According to the minutes, that was proposed and passed unanimously. And you folks are okay with it. And again, it's a small stumbling point for Gypsy Run. So everything that I had said, Ashley, about why this should be overturned, or this certificate of appropriateness denial overturned, I would add that they will fill in the Gypsy Run, somehow cover it up as part of the motion.
And I guess the other thing that I would state is, if I was the owner of one of those 2 houses that I visited today, I understand why they would have some issues with this being on the back of a building that from their second floor or their first floor, they can look out and see. So I know it's not a requirement, but you guys are real good citizens in this town, and conversation with those 2 neighbors might help resolve some of these issues just with a friendly neighborhood conversation. If this passes, I should say, that would be some advice I would give you as well.
I mean, we are okay with talking to Mr. Updike. I am not aware of who the other neighbor would be.
Okay.
But I mean, I would not.
The
speak for
greenhouse,
all of
right?
us, I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
be comfortable to discuss
Yeah.
as much of an alternative as we can
Yeah.
to make our community happy. I mean, we didn't open a business to step on toes.
Oh, I understand that. And you might be okay just for talking with the one, because that's who came to the meeting. But I think it'd be just a,
Maybe a year gift card.
Free beer.
We can't
I don't say that in front of.
I'm joking, I'm joking.
Don't say that.
she gonna really get you in trouble. Yeah, listen. No,
Bridget must not have heard me, or she would have hit the roof.
well, every one of these things is gonna be treated individually. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be fair. And the committee that reviews these things does a tough job. I would appreciate them all getting them resolved without coming to us, but, you know, it seems like that's not gonna happen. But
Well, and that leads me to my next thought, that is just a general statement of, we've been here before. So that tells me that something is wrong. Whether it's the guidelines are too vague or too specific, or, you know, so to me, that's what we really need to address, is we need to make this as user-friendly as possible.
We've talked about a public art committee forever. I mean, it
Right.
may.
And I don't know what that looks like. I just know that.
I would venture to tell you, you would end up in the same position. Ultimately,
yeah.
art is wholly subjective.
Yes. That's right.
It is.
And to define it in a manner which is wholly restrictive and see whether you check boxes or not is in and of itself potentially censorship and a restraint on speech. So I think the process, I understand why you may not enjoy having all of these come before you, but to me, from a philosophical standpoint, it's precisely where it should be, upon the shoulders of those elected who define what the fabric of this district is.
Okay, Mr. Dexter.
Very good.
Well,
Like I said, it's yes or no.
yeah, right. And every time, is a mural going to get denied every time? And if it does, we're going to be here every time. And so I'm trying to remove a layer to make it easier for everyone.
Perhaps in another conversation, Ms. Kincaid will offer some suggestions.
Yes, I would love some suggestions, because this is like, what's that movie, Groundhog Day?
Well, and you know, you should note, I mean, factually, murals have been approved in this community by the Architectural Heritage Board.
I understand
So
that.
there have, I mean, obviously been some that have not and have come before you on appeal, but there have been murals that have been approved.
I call for the question of my motion to overturn the denial of the deal of the COA.
Question's been called.
That's your job, isn't it?
Conditioned upon the removal of the name Gypsy Run from it.
Right. I'm sorry to assume that, but
Thank you.
it's in record with Ashley, right?
Are we through with discussion? Question called. You good?
Yes.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
said aye, Dexter.
Item 10 is the city manager report.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Scott.
Mayor and Commissioners, tonight I have a few things to go over briefly, but before I get into those, I would like to ask our engineering staff, John
Come back here.
to come forward and to condense his somewhat lengthy report into the highlights of what our busy engineering and public works staff have been doing recently and engaged in. And following that summation, I have a number of things to also report.
Thank you, Ron. Mayor, Commission, citizens. Just real quick, been a lot of progress, a lot of things, even with the Christmas holiday and the New Year's and everything, and we've got a lot of stuff getting spooled up coming up. But briefly, we have been working on the 3rd Main Street safety concerns. There are some progress on that. Lori Finke and Spoonmore's suggestion of that one light fixture. Our Director of Public Works has been working on finding a way to adjust that and get it mounted out there to try it. But it's an example of the usual thing of as much as the salesman says it's an easy fix, reality steps in, and we're having to find some way to have a junction between the fixture and our light poles, and then worrying about how the extra things we have to do to be able to safely wire it according to code. So we are working on that, and hopefully have something on that soon. But again, because it's such a new thing, I can't really give you a date, but we're working on it. On the splash pad, I don't know if y'all heard before, we got it up and running for people to use, but we still had to do the overflow. We're getting a price on doing it with stone, and we're reviewing that, maybe moving on that some this winter. So in the spring, when we get to open it up, it'll be ready to go for the kids to play in, not have to worry about any construction issues needing to finish up. For the cemetery, y'all saw on the news last Friday, the Central Kentucky African American Cemetery Association met with us back in December, offering their services to do some stuff that we've been kicking around the idea of what we were going to do to try to accomplish the same thing. But if we do it, it costs money, time, taxpayers' treasure. And these guys came in and said, hey, we'd like to help. And we're like, we'd love to have you. Yeah. So we talked over, Mr. Scott made some decisions on what we can do to work with them, allowing them to look in our records. And we're looking forward to working with them and getting a lot of things clarified. And ultimately, one goal is hopefully that we'll be able to do some fundraising and perhaps be able to mark some of the unmarked graves once we confirm who's in them, just like we did the pauper graves last summer. Public Works has been doing a lot of stuff. Their usual thing, they're almost done with leaf removal. And this past weekend was a good example that they prep and get ready for all kinds of different weather situations. They had to deal with a potentially dangerous situation that on Lexington Avenue with a tree starting to come down on a power line. They were able to get Stanley tree removal people out there to deal with it safely and adequately before causing any further issues. Didn't even have to bother the fire department and police departments with it. So Rick Henry, I'd like to give him kudos, has been doing an outstanding job with Public Works and all the other things they've been carrying on too along that line. Wayfinding, we're continuing on the direction y'all gave us and waiting to hear back from the state on that. And then the only other really big thing is the Public Works garage renovation. We're starting to reorganize for that. We have to find a temporary place for the guys to work out of. So for y'all's information, the old dispatch building underneath the water tower on Houstonville Road, the bottom end of 4th Street down here, we're going to be using that for our break and staging area, although we'll still be using most of the Public Works garage for equipment, materials, and that sort of thing. The renovation was something that's been planned for many years. We're going to try to do it within the budget that we've got and hopefully get things done as soon as we can in the next year or two. But this is the first step, reorganizing our guys' location and getting them staging out of that. And hopefully in the near future, next month or so, we can talk to you about some more progress on it. And that's all, sir.
Ron, if you don't mind, this is your report. I want to take this opportunity to thank you, John. You're working on Jackson Park over there, doing some cleanup. It's a park that hasn't been neglected recently, but it had been after we first went to Millennium, and a lot of folks that use it really appreciate the work that you're doing there. So, and if I may ask a question, since we were talking a little bit about streetscape and working with the state, I think we all know that there's some pretty bad potholes down 4th Street right in front of Jane Barleycorn and so forth. Is anything happening there that could be positive for us?
Rick Henry, again, I keep talking about him because he's doing such a great job. On a regular basis, he is needling the state counterparts about, is there anything y'all can do with that? And at that level, he's able to keep it on the front burner as far as we're concerned and keep bringing it up to him. Hopefully, just like the citizens' participation and everything else, we can help keep them thinking about it and hopefully get something on there. But again, it belongs to the state, and short of a sinkhole opening up there and everybody having to jump in and help out, we have to leave it for them to fix.
I have a few more things just to briefly cover. I think many good things are going to occur within the city of Danville in the year 2020. One of those is that Monica Sumner called me last week. She was with our engineering firm, consulting firm, Brunstetter Carroll, and she has announced that the improved design for our fountain in Whisker Park has been completed. They're completing the presentation materials to go with that, and I'm meeting with her next Thursday to review that. I and the engineering staff to review that, but presumably that would be on a presentation to this commission on the 27th of January. And not to steal Monica's thunder, but she said to me in the conversation that she recognized, given the long period of time of making these engineering improvements, that the only thing that would really be acceptable to the city commission was a design that would blow your hair back. And she says this is such a design. So I'm enthused in terms of meeting and reviewing that. It's consistent with our earlier discussion where we remove, or she removes, the centerpiece from the fountain and actually has the water be the fountain within the ring of Whisker Park with flowers on the outside of that. So that will be coming the 27th. So that's one good thing. The management staff will be meeting on January 27th also by phone with our bond underwriting rating agency, Standard & Poor's, to go over our great stability of revenue and our good management practices that we have in the city of Danville. We were able, through the assistance of our financial advisor quite a number of years ago, which included R.J. Palmer, who continues in that financial advisor role, to improve the bond rating agency of the city of Danville to a AA-. That facilitates better pricing and purchase of those bonds and lower interest rates. We've had a history over the last 8 or 9 years through that process of looking at our existing debt and refinancing it where feasible, of saving hundreds of thousands of dollars in pre-existing debt and in issuing debt at a very competitive rate, for example, our water treatment plant renovations. And we will be in the process, presumably in February, of issuing $10 million to do the several projects, including the construction of the new fire department, as well as making the required and necessary improvements to our sewer treatment plant. So this is, again, a key management exercise going forward, and I anticipate that we will be able to retain our excellent bond rating that we currently enjoy. I wanted to mention also in the way of announcements of community meetings, Bluegrass Community Action Partnership, who runs the transit system in our community, will be holding a meeting at the library on January 23rd at 3:30 in the afternoon. The purpose of the meeting is to receive citizen or official input in terms of desired improvements to our local transit system. And citizens and those who have an interest in that topic are encouraged to attend. You may know, and I thought we were going to have, maybe this is coming at our second announcement, Center College students, as you may recall, annually make presentations, projects, team efforts in terms of various community issues. I think they plan to be in attendance at that meeting, and they also will be making a presentation to this, to the city here in these chambers, as will be announced by them, I think, at the second here in the public. Regarding the fire station and reviewers costing out of that final design, they're very close to completing that process. They've had some difficulties, I understand it, in terms of meeting with and talking with subcontractors and some of those cost estimates. We should have that report before the City Commission either January 27th or possibly more likely the first meeting in February, but that is coming with the design and the cost estimates. Tonight, I would request that we have an executive session to deal with personnel matters as well as current litigation. So that should not be a lengthy meeting, but I think we need to discuss both of those items. And finally, as you well know, and I think our community knows, my time is coming to an end as city manager with the swearing in of David Milliron. I keep wanting to mispronounce that name, but David Milliron. He and I have been meeting since 8 o'clock and working today and on a number of issues, including interviewing for HR director positions. We're in the finalist on that position. I'm impressed with David's ability, his ability to communicate and work with other people, and his knowledge and skills. So I think he will be a very good choice, and I commend you on that choice. I will be continuing as you have allowed me to through January 31st to provide some transition assistance to David. And I'm also wearing 2 hats now in terms of serving as the acting HR director until that new person is hired. So there's a lot going on at City Hall. I'm glad to have been a part of it over the past 9 years. And as I will be 70 in February, I'm also looking forward to retirement. So I appreciate the opportunity to be of service and to work with so many citizens and so many of you on the past 6 years as City Commission and your predecessors as well. So that concludes my report tonight. And unless you call me back for some reason that I don't anticipate, this will be my last report to you. Thank you.
What day is it?
Are we clapping because that's his last report, or what was that? I'm a little confused there.
Thank you, Ron. I'll get to that in a minute. Item 11 is resolution number 2020-01-13-01. You have as a separate document in front of you. This is the contract for the new city manager, David A. Milliron.
And again, this is just a cleanup matter since the new city manager is here today and working. We thought it would be appropriate to actually compensate him for his services beginning today as opposed to waiting for 2 days and requiring his volunteerism.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I would, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Fight for it.
I would gladly approve Resolution 2020-01-13-01.
Thanks, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second, Commissioner Cottle? Thank you, sir. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Milliron, front and center.
Oh, man.
He acts like he's the boss, doesn't he?
To swear at him. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sure in the state of
No duels.
Kentucky, you won't have any trouble finding one.
No seconds.
Since you are here and you know technology, you all are about to figure out what I know about technology. Video.
Yeah, he can't work his phone worth it.
I can work it, I just can't, you don't want me to do selfie. Well, hello, and thank you. I would have worked for free for 2 days. I didn't mind doing that.
Please raise your right hand, sir. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute to the best of my ability the position of city manager according to law. And I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state nor out of it, nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God.
I swear, I affirm, and I do.
Welcome to Danville.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here, sir.
Thank you. You gave me 7 days. He did.
David, it might be appropriate if you care to have some comments.
No comment, no questions.
No
First and
autographs?
foremost, I am eternally grateful. My wife Barb will be joining me once we find our new home here in Danville. We have been looking at houses, spent last night yet again looking at more houses. This is a beautiful community. You should be proud of what you have. When you come into Danville, you recognize the history immediately, and that's something to be excited about. Ron Scott has managed this city faithfully and has brought you forth, and he has left me with not yet his top 10 list, top 15 list. He's going to be working on it. That's envelope number 2. Inside joke, but I've already committed to envelope 1 apparently, and so I'm working on that. I will answer a number of questions I get the number from the public, so I'll just answer it here so everybody in the world knows it. Question number 1, I'm married. I think I've already said that. My wife is Barb. I have no children. We have no children. That was question number 2 that's come up most often. We do have 2 lovely Clumber Spaniels. They are our, that is my family. And my wife thinks that I love them more than I love her. That's not true. She just doesn't jump up and down and lick my face when I get home every night. There's a difference. And I think the number 3 question is, no, we have not found our new home yet. I did say to someone on the back row, I'm just going to put in the paper tomorrow morning a photo of me homeless on Maple Street and appeal to the good citizens to help me find the house. Just call me at 555-1800 something. But the word's out on the street because I'm getting text messages from all kinds of folks saying, hey, come by our house. The folks in this community have been so welcoming. I forget who I mentioned it to today, but I mean, things like this don't happen in Atlanta. For instance, I am backing out of a driveway and I stop. And 3 more cars stop behind me and they're waving, come on out. And I'm like, okay, they're about to rush me, aren't they? You know, or if I don't come out fast enough, they'll come around and they take off my rear view mirror. So the hospitality in this community, the folks that stop, they wave, they say hello, they look you in the eye. That is what my wife and I fell in love with about Danville. And so I look to having a very lengthy, long relationship with you all. I tell the community, Godspeed, it's going to be a lot of fun together. You'll understand what I mean about my social media presence. Just stand by. I don't have the keys to the building yet, but give me a couple days and you'll see what I mean. So thank you, and it's going to be a pleasure to serve you and most importantly, the residents.
Thank you, David.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Move into the section as promised, hear the public about any subject that has not been on tonight's agenda. Mr. Hunn?
It's me again. I'm James Hunn. I'm president of the Danville County African American Cemetery Association. We have a cemetery that we like to donate to the city of Danville. I believe your attorney has all the paperwork done in our plat. So we like y'all to give him information to get that job done. It'd be very thankful to us. You shaking?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And
Stephen, you have that?
I've received the plat from Mr. Hunn for it, and it just needs to be reviewed internally and presented to the commission.
We'll take a look at it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We need to get it before the grass start growing now.
Need what?
We need to get it done before springtime, and the grass start growing.
I think we can do that.
You don't want to mow it.
Any other comments? Certainly.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's the price of admission.
Lucky me.
Lucky you.
Hang on. I'm also a member of the Central Kentucky African American Association.
Your name, please, sir?
Sir?
Your name, please, sir?
Bill Stocker.
Thank you, Bill.
And y'all might notice I'm not African American, but that doesn't matter. We have a mix of blacks and whites that are interested in preserving African American and actually white history. Question for you, Mr. Dexter. Actually, I know that you have the plat to the cemetery that we had surveyed last January, I think. The reason I'm up here is to ask, is there any other paperwork that you need, old deeds and so forth, that shows a line of ownership that would make your job easier?
In the event that information is needed, I just have Mr. Hunt's contact information. If you'd like to leave it with me, yours as well, I'd be happy to take it.
I've got the deeds. I've got the deeds from 1872 until today. And
why don't you just drop that off at my office? That'd be great. Thank you.
I'll do it. I'm transcribing them so it'll be easier on you. You know, these old deeds that are handwritten back in the old days are very difficult to read. So if you want me to transcribe them, I'll be glad to. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
That'll be interesting.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move right into commissioner comments. Ladies first.
Not to belabor a point, but I just wanted to clarify my statements about AHB. And I just don't like to have the perception of undermining the work, the good work of our committees and boards. It is very difficult to have volunteers for our many spots. And I appreciate all of the work and the volunteer and hours that everyone puts in. And they are our eyes and ears, and we appreciate that. And like I said, I believe there is a problem with the process, and that's what we need to address. It is not the people that are there. It is the process that is putting all of us in a bad position. And when we have an appeal, it puts us in an impossible position. So that's kind of what I was trying to convey through that.
Okay.
Well stated. Well stated.
Gentlemen?
Well, I have a couple. Sorry that the Hensons left, but Mama Henson already knows this. My first encounter at Pioneer Playhouse was the summer of 1967. I had a three-piece suit on, a starched shirt, and a tie. And I saw an outdoor play. And I can just barely remember how small the Henson kids were at that time period. But I've been coming and supporting that venue ever since 1967. But just imagine 4th of July at Pioneer Playhouse outdoors in a three-piece suit. But okay. But on a more up-to-date announcements, this coming Monday is the commemoration of the birth of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Danville has 2 activities planned. One is, well, they're both Monday the 20th, but newly elected and sworn in Attorney General Daniel Cameron supposedly is to be the guest speaker at the community celebration at First Baptist Church, 2nd and Walnut Street, and forgive me, but I don't know the time. I have been told the announcer is not going to be a march, just a program. Then the second event on that day is going to take place at Center College at 6 o'clock, and Dr. Janine Abrams, the younger sister of Stacey Abrams, the candidate for the governor of Atlanta, is going to be the Center College speaker at 6 o'clock on that date.
What time is the First Baptist?
We don't know. Mr. Hunt and I have not been able to corner someone about a time. We think it's going to be.
And also, the program's going to be on a Sunday, but there's something at Danville High School on Saturday. And I think it starts at 1 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of posting.
No. Oh, I haven't gotten to that one. You're talking about ML King. Yeah, I'm talking about ML King weekend right now. Yeah.
About the whole weekend.
Yeah, he asked a question about ML King weekend about Attorney General Daniel Cameron, what time that program's going to take place. Yeah. We don't have a time yet for that one.
Is that on the 20th?
It's on the Monday the 20th. Both of those are on the 20th. And then what Mr. Hunt is bringing up was the next item, and that is February's Black History Month, and the Danville Board County African American Historical Society has planned several community-wide events. And they're taking place February the 1st, February the 2nd, February the 6th, February the 13th, February the 20th, and February the 27th. And they're at Danville High School and at Boyle County Public Library and Great American Dollhouse Museum and a lot of places. But you probably saw an article in the paper the weekend about some of those dates. But those 4 Thursdays, they're going to have 6 p.m. showings of African American films, a film festival. Oh, he said, bless me. Okay, bless her. Okay. So that's what Mr. Hunt was referring to. And those things will take place at different times. More information to follow. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Gentlemen?
Sure. Happy New Year, everybody. I look forward to 2020. Welcome, David. We got some kind of excited about 2020, and I'm happy to see representatives of some of our major organizations here that help us look the way that David sees us, and that would be Parks and Rec is here. We've got Heart of Danville here. Convention Visitors Bureau is in attendance. Arts Center of the Bluegrass is here. So we look forward to what you folks are going to bring to us, which segues into, John, what's our national day of what this?
Popcorn Friday.
Popcorn Friday?
Popcorn Day is actually Sunday, but we're celebrating on Friday. Free popcorn, playing Davis Center all day. This coming Friday.
Free popcorn on Friday.
Not the microwave stuff either.
Kevin, you got anything? I'm going to ask the commission to be thinking about how we can get more resources out of Bluegrass Ad. I have not been going. It's a time issue. Kevin, I think you used to go.
Issue, yeah.
And somehow I got a feeling, and maybe I'm wrong, that we're missing out on some things. I don't know. We'll be thinking about that. We'll circle up at some point. This was given to me tonight. I think it's pretty cool. This is going to be presentations by Center College students Monday, February 27th from 10 to 11:30 here, City Hall. Topics include self-sustaining income, adequate transportation, access to food, suitable housing, and financial literacy. So that's glad to have center students come and share.
That's right. Mr. Mayor, let me go back to one other thing. Our community book read this fall was a book entitled Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. And that movie about the book just got released this last weekend. I want to encourage all of you all in attendance tonight and anyone who might be viewing this to please go to the local Cinemas 8 and view the movie Just Mercy. If you haven't read the book, please try to find yourself a copy of the book. Check it out at the library. Very interesting read. If you all remember, it was the first-year students' required book read for all the Center College first-year students. And then this winter, I think the month of February, the youth version of Just Mercy is going to be read by some Danville High School students. So, very interesting book. Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Moving right along to item 12, payment of the bills. Oh, yes, sir. Come join us at the podium.
Hi again. I don't wish to, I guess, delay the proceedings any further. I just had a quick question as to what it is that then we need to do as Gypsy Run to move forward with our own process. I didn't know there was a number 12, otherwise I would have waited till the end. But I mean, I know you guys want us to, you approve that we get rid of the words. Like, do I need to show you how I'm going to do that? Like, what is our next step in the process so we can?
You'll be contacted by staff following this meeting, probably tomorrow, and we'll get in touch with you about the remaining steps that need to transpire.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
See that nice young lady back there shaking her head?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
He did say young, too. How about that, bro?
Item 12, payment of the bills. Do I hear a motion?
I move for approval of payment of the bill list in the amount of $1,065,819.48.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 13, Resolution 2020-01-13-02. This is the ICMA plan change of coordinator title. Michelle?
Yes, before you, this resolution just changes the title to the chief financial officer. They wanted it to say a title and not a name. And so that changes the plan to be that, and it gives the authorization to make the changes in the plan when necessary.
Okay.
This is the retirement plan for your contract employees.
Do I hear a motion for Resolution 2020-01-13-02?
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Discussion?
Might tell everybody what ICMA stands for, just for the record.
Who, me?
Somebody.
International City Manager.
City Manager Association. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. 14 is resolution number 2020-01-13-03. This is a contract amendment number 7 with HDR. Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The Rich Smith with HDR is in the audience with us. We are reviewing the amendment number 7 of HDR, presenting that for your review and approval. It consists of 3 components. One is the design of a pump station on the eastern end of the county that will improve service to the airport road watershed and also improve service for the connection, the emergency connection that the city of Stanford has on 150. The pump station's been talked about for a while. Given this summer's drought, the need to go ahead and do that is present. And so we'll begin that process and try to do as much of the construction in-house over the course of time. It's not necessarily time sensitive, but it is work that we need to get started with. The second item, HDR hosts the hydraulic model for the utility system. From time to time, as we have developers or pressure questions and things like that, we ask them to run various scenarios for us. We have compensated them through POs historically for that work, or not at all, that they're doing it out of kindness, and that's really what we'd like to do, is create this not to exceed number to draw from, as part of embedded in their existing contract. Part C is the design. We have an exhibit attached that connects the water line being installed, construction starting now, on Corporate Drive, Minor Road, connects the bypass near Dino. It is a new line to connect that network into the Corporate Drive watershed. We've talked about this briefly one time before. This line is being done in response to industrial growth that is occurring now.
Do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I move for approval of Resolution 2020-01-13-03 in the amount of not to exceed $102,750.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cardle. Further discussion?
I have one question. Actually, I think you answered it, Earl. Is the airport road service area, at the time we expanded that way, we didn't anticipate a pump station being needed? And this is something that came up later on due to other circumstances, or just
not necessarily? The water supply on Stanford Road has been being improved for 15 years. When the city of Danville took over the Junction City utility system, it acquired the Airport Road water tower that is just east of the airport. Currently there is only one way to feed that system. Since Danville took over that utility, we tied that water tower to Stanford Road with an 8-inch water line. So now this is an opportunity to go ahead and install, now that those are connected, which they've been that way for, 6, 7 years now, 8 years, to connect with, to feed that water tower with a different pump station so that there'll be 2 supplies into that watershed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and just an additional comment, you've already explained it, and we have more information than the folks listening to us, but a lot of this work is because of expansions of industry and looking to growth. So this is all positive money spent, in my opinion.
And it's proactive.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 15 is resolution number 2020-01-13-04. This is the updated Salt River Work Order Agreement. Again, Mr. Coffey.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We are asking that you authorize us to begin with this round of rate evaluation. This is a continuation of the cost of service study done 2 years ago now, I think, and Salt River Engineering is your consultant on your rates. It's a not to exceed $25,000 number, and it will occur over the next 2 to 3 months, hopefully, as we go through the budget process so that any changes can be made July 1st.
Do I hear a
move for
motion?
approval of resolution 2020-01-1304.
Thanks, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Commissioner Sears. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 16 is resolution number 2020-01-13-05. This is surplus property police bikes online auction. Chief Doan.
Yeah, we're just looking to approval to surplus some older bicycles that we've replaced this year via online at Gov Deals. So make those available.
So you said you replaced them?
We've already purchased new ones for our bike patrol unit. We have 5 older ones that we're looking to make available.
Okay. This doesn't mean that bike patrol is going away.
Bike patrol should be better than it's ever been. So
All right.
this coming summer.
Faster and more efficient, right?
Yeah, they should be, the new ones.
Coming soon to your local festival, right?
Exactly.
I move for approval of resolution number 2020-01-1305.
Second.
Thanks, Commissioner Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cottle. Discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 17 is resolution number 2020-01-13-06, surplus property of police camera and equipment. Again, Chief Doan.
This is actually what's referred to as a total station. It's for accident reconstruction. That's, once again, was a outdated piece of equipment, and we've got to purchase a new one for those activities and accident reconstruction. These will not be online auction. We actually have a local agency that is in need of one of those, and we're looking to charge a minimal fee for it to get that to them, to assist them.
I wish I'd had one of these when my daughter was learning to drive. It would save them a lot of time. We just do it ourselves.
Is that your motion, sir? You making a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 2020-01-1306.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I will
Thank you,
second.
sir. Thank you, ma'am.
I was just going to say, I can't believe Commissioner Cottle did not make any training wheels jokes with the prior resolution.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That is the end of our normal course of business. What do you got?
Just leftover stuff or what?
Probably.
Okay.
I believe we do have need for an executive session on personnel.
Yes, sir, and also pending litigation.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cottle, if you'll do the honors.
I'll do it. I move that we go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter pursuant to KRS 618101F and to discuss pending litigation for which disclosure of details might compromise litigation posture pursuant to KRS 618101C.
Do I hear a second to the motion?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Everyone have a good evening.
I move that we come back into regular session.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Is there a second?
Second.
We have second and a third. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are in executive session. Mr. Scott.
We are out of executive.
Oh, excuse me. We're out of executive session. We're into regular session. I just want to go home and watch a football game.
We're a bunch of executives in regular session. That's what we.
As we discussed in executive session, I would recommend that Mr. Austin Ray be hired as police officer recruit with the usual probationary period. You might recall that Mr. Austin Ray previously served as a telecommunications officer for us full-time and has served in that capacity previously. He also has worked and is working currently part-time for 911, but he has stepped up to his desire to become a police officer, and we support and applaud him in that career advancement.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
If the commission would, check your calendars. Let's see if the 6th of February, which is a Thursday, would be a good day for us to have a commission retreat.
It's good with me.
Is that an all-day thing?
Probably not necessary. I would think half a day.
Block out right now.
Yeah, let's just get something on our calendars.
I think we've gone till.
We're going from like 9 to
3
noon, or no,
we've
we'll
done
figure
it.
all that out.
What?
Is this the session that you were wanting Randy Frank from Slavin Group to facilitate?
No.
No, this is the retreat we usually do in December. But now that we have a new city manager, we talk about what we want to get done in 2020.
Excuse me if I'm wrong, but I
yeah.
thought it was consideration that wouldn't be done with the new city manager until a little bit of time elapsed, and then that Randy Frank from Slavin Group would conduct that.
That's right.
To identify top priorities of the commission and the city manager, and to facilitate that process, which is already a paid-for service under your contract with Slavin.
Okay, so
I think probably you may want to revisit that issue once a little bit more attention can be put into it, along with the new city manager and his desire and goals for that session.
how much time is appropriate?
Well, I think that should be talked with the consultant to see what their ideal time is, and along with the city manager to make sure it's productive.
Okay.
2 weeks on the job may not be an appropriate time.
Well, he's a quick learner. All right.
The budget's coming up, though.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If we're talking about 60 or 90 days, then we're in budget, and I think
That's not a
we
good
might
time.
want to do it before budget.
May I suggest that Randy Frank be contacted tomorrow, and that you get the feedback, and then that decision can be made the next meeting?
I like how you're not even sitting down. You're heading for the door.
Well, I'm like Stephen. I think we need to take the direction from them. I don't mind blocking out the 6th of February till we find out something from the consultants about what they suggest.
So who's
Better
going to
timeframe.
check that out?
I will make that phone call, and I will tell you, it's my personal belief that we should utilize Ron Scott as much as we can while we're here. So if I can fast track this, I'm gonna fast track it before he gets on a slip boat to China.
So what's your recommendation, sir?
If Randy can tell me that, we can do it expeditiously, otherwise Ron and I will work together, because his historical knowledge with the department head is going to be invaluable for the tone of that retreat.
I would offer my suggestion that we can talk with Randy about the facilitation, and I think she would serve well in that. But I wonder if we need to do it quite as quick as the 6th. An extra week might do wonders in terms of us having a thought-out suggested plan or something. It's pretty quick, February 6th.
Okay, you want to look at February 13th?
I'm just suggesting another week would be a better time, I think, and still
Well, it's
well
going to
ahead of the
depend on
budget
if Randy
process.
is available.
You check with Randy.
Well, it's not only just Randy, it's also the identification and discussion of the issues that staff really has to kind of generate from the ground up to make it as productive as possible. And, you know, we might pull it off on the 6th. We certainly have a better chance of pulling it off sometime the following week. Just a thought.
Let's shoot for the 13th.
We're at the city manager's winter conference on the 13th. The 14th is Valentine's Day. We can make a date then.
That's fine with me.
Well, I still think we ought to take Stephen's advice and hold the 6th, hold the 13th, and get a hold of Randy as quick as we can. And
Hold those 2 dates. Well, he can't be here on the 13th.
yeah, I understand that.
But
Yeah, I know.
14th, you're okay holding the 14th?
No, I'm not. No. Well, I am. Yeah, I can hold the 14th because it would be from a 9 to 5 type thing. I can hold the 14th.
Yeah.
And then I think Stephen's thing about what Randy was suggesting might not involve as many staff people as we have used in the past. I think she had a different process, I thought. But we need to find out what that is, though.
Well, and I believe Mr. Scott and Mr. Milliron are meeting individually with management staff in the next few weeks, and he can kind of get a feel for what needs to be discussed. So I think it would mostly depend on when Randy's available.
Mr. Scott, handle it and just tell us when we're going to meet.
Well, I'll
David's going to do
work with David in terms of his communication with you on that as I try and help him in that transition. But, you know, if the 13th is the city manager's, the 14th is Valentine's, certainly the 12th or sometime earlier in that week, you know, just a few days beyond the 6th might give us another weekend or whatever it might need to be done to make it as productive as possible. But Randy's involvement, I think, is key in her availability. So at first, check her. So we'll do that.
She might say it's all too soon.
Because 1st of March starts the silly season.
Right. We were trying to get it in before
Yeah.
that.
Day night.
Oh,
we're-
yeah, the
we're up
12th
to the
is the
11th,
chaos
Tuesday.
day.
10th or 11th, it might be Monday the 10th or something. I mean,
Let us know.
I think we'll wait for you two to get back to us.
we have a commission meeting on the 10th, too.
Yeah,
All right.
that would work really good for some of us that travel. Got to be here anyway.
Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
I move that we go watch football.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign.
Even though I don't have cable.
Well done.
We're adjourned.
Is it on cable?